Hello there, and welcome back to my Clan Angrund Campaign. Where we left off was we captured Karak Bufdar, name still pending, pronunciation at least. Captured it, took it over. We're getting rid of those greenskins and replacing them with some high quality dwarfs. We left off, we had some buildings under construction. We got a new grudge in our Book of Grudges, which is the greatest of grudges, seen as an oath unfulfilled, and a sore point for all dwarfs. The loss of Karak Eight Peaks has a low point for the Karaz Angkor. Since its fall, many dwarfs have tried and failed to reconquer it. Belagar is the latest of these, who has dedicated his life to reclaiming his famous hold. As a direct descendant of the last ruler of Karak Eight Peaks, Belagar and all those in Clan Angrund consider its occupation their greatest grudge. And so it is, and our objective is to capture and occupy the following settlement of Karak Eight Peaks. If we successfully do that, I was actually sort of right. I think I was roughly right pointing into it this last episode. But either way, that is the goal of our campaign. There's other objectives too, naturally, but that's our number one priority. If we can capture Karak Eight Peaks, that'll make it so we do not have this big plus 50% upkeep requirement for all of our troops. Right now we've captured Karak Bufdar, we're trying to build up our economy, we're trying to get ready to push out. We're going to capture Zerak-Zil. That'll allow us to put a province-wide commandment, which will provide some buffs. I'll probably pick the one that has growth, so long as it doesn't have negative public order. The reason why is public order is going to be a problem just because of our difficulty, but also, as you can see, it says conquest and provincial instability. Both of those have something to do with the fact that we have been that we had to conquer this settlement through warfare. It's going to also occur once again over at Zerak-Zil. Public order will start to dip back down, as you can see right here. Next turn, after this next turn, it's going to be that minus 10 is going to be gone, but it's still going to be minus 4. And the provincial instability, that one's going to progress down slowly through multiple turns until it's 0 as well. But then immediately once we capture Zerak-Zil, it'll go back up, and we have to wait for it to go back down again. But on the bright side, it's not the end of the world. Once we take it over, we will not have any immediate enemies to worry about. The biggest threats to us are going to be in this early stage of the campaign, I think, unless like I get an enemy I'm not expecting, potentially one of the human factions, like the Border Princes, or Talea, I think is what this faction is called. Yeah, Talea is what the faction is called. Itchy nose. Is going to be the Skaven faction over here, Clan Skyer. We need to make sure we take them out, but we have to have Talea between us and them, so we need to get in good relations with Talea in order to pass through their provinces safely, or make war with them and conquer their territories so we can move on to the Skaven to remove that potential threat from our borders. We'll kind of find out if Talea is able to hold fine, that we don't have to worry about the Skaven as much, but it'd be very problematic if they become a problem. Another enemy that we're gonna have to keep in mind is actually to our north. Fester Spike, if I remember correctly, unless they've changed it, that is another Skaven settlement, and corruption from there is going to start spreading into our settlement here. If you actually look here, this has corruption levels. It says because of through osmosis, we are getting Skaven corruption, which means that there is a Skaven province nearby, which is Fester Spike. If Fester Spike survives, then we're going to keep having corruption, but also just north of them, a little bit up here, if I remember correctly, around this region, I think up here, if I remember correctly, from my when I played as the Cricket Moon, yes, it's right there. They will also start pushing to the south, and they're an enemy of ours. So probably what we're going to do, once we capture Zerak-Zil, I'm going to be advancing north and taking them out. That'll also give us 2 provinces in which we can start building up an army and marching towards Cherokee Peaks. At that point, we need to decide: do we kill the humans to get to our objective, or do we try and make peace with them and slowly make our way through them as friends? If I remember correctly, a lot of their territory is not very suitable, is very unpleasant for us. So we're going to have a lot of negative modifiers for our faction, taking them out. So killing them and taking over the settlements, while possible, is not necessarily the most ideal. So I'm going to see if I can make we already have a non-aggression pact with them, and they already kind of like us. I think if we capture Xerox Zil or some other settlement, maybe this other enemy faction that I didn't even notice existed over here, or if we capture this one, we will be able to trade with them, earn some money, and hopefully we can keep up this relationship going enough that we can just peaceably cross their territory to where we want to go. There's also another friendly dwarf faction to our north that's going to be guarding that side, and the Empire should not really make war with us, so we shouldn't have to worry about them. Talea we can actually start trading with now that we've captured that location. We're getting some trade in. They don't really want a non-aggression pact yet, but at least we're getting some trade in, which means we're making some money. Talea could fall. They're a minor faction. They are a very minor faction, and they're at war with 2 major factions. There's the Pirates of Sartosa over here, and of course Clan Scar, as I mentioned before, which is going to be its own problems. But enough of that. We're going to try and see if I'm going to try and recruit 3 churns. Oh, that's going to be real. I don't think it's worth it. Wait, global is less time. Damn, though. All right, we're not going to bother with that. We're going to wait 1 churn here, replenish our troops, and we're going to march on Xerox Zil. I don't think we'll need a full stack. We can get the remaining units later. Especially because the miners I'd only want them just to bolster our forces for the next battle. But I wouldn't want them very long because the dwarf strength is a lot of the time is like a decent front line and then a lot of artillery and ranged units just standing behind them, ready to just unleash hell. So here I can upgrade. I want to upgrade this one actually. The reason why I want to upgrade this is 1, it gives a better garrison, but 2, it also will allow me to build a higher level for my for the sparring chamber, upgrade that to the next level, which will mean I get more units, like better units. I believe Quarrelers is the 2nd level of this building, if I remember correctly, which is basically your choice of like primary ranged units is Quarrelers and Thunderers. You can make an argument either way which one's the best, but Thunderers is usually what I go for. But Quarrelers are also pretty nice because I believe I mentioned this in the previous video. Oh, that's a lot of units. Oh, but there is a Border Prince army there that will weaken them for us. Hopefully they don't take it because I want it. So this is one of the few times where we're like, Border Princes, die please. But not completely. So I'm just trying to see if I can get any trade. I can get trade at the Golden Order, and we'll just do trade agreement. They can give me military access, but I don't really want to give that to them. So I'm just gonna offer trade. I don't want military access from them, and I don't want to give it to them. I don't plan on expanding north. We'll see if the situation changes. Then if the situation changes, then we might be more willing to offer that to them. And like maybe like they're at war with somebody, and potentially me offering military alliance would allow me to move my troops in faster and protect them. Looks like we have some negative growth, unfortunately. But not the end of the world. We're slowly making up some money. I believe upgrading will also increase the amount of income we get by a little bit, if I'm not mistaken. Which would mean we can start building more. We got the granary, so that we keep getting that building up and going. As you can see right here, oh, you can't see it. Oh, you can sort of see it right there. You can see the tooltip. Everyone's now nourished, which means that it's going to be a positive to my public order modifier. There's also bonuses to people are going to be more happy, which means there's going to be less dissidents. going through. Actually, my worker number is actually increased in my primary settlement. So that goes. So now I don't see the Border Prince army anymore. I think they might have been wiped out. But if that's the case, then this is our chance to attack. Oh no, I see the Border Prince is actually right there. So we're just gonna wait here. If they attack, I'm not gonna assist them. The reason why is I want them to fail. That way I can take this over for myself. So if that pops up, I'm gonna be like, you can die, humans. I want this for myself. I think it is being besieged, but I'm not 100% certain. Looks like the Border Princes did end up running away. I don't know if they were beaten or when they were attacked, they just had to run away. Sorry, let's attack here. Yeah, we'll be able to fight this out pretty. I think we'll be able to take this pretty easily and with minimal losses, I would say. The honestly, orcs are very weak. This game, they did a nice change to them a while back when they released the Grom and the Paunch. I think that's what it's called. The Warden and the Paunch. That's what it was. I don't know why I thought Grom. Grom's the name of the Paunch. I don't know why. Basically said like he was both parts of the DLC. Where they reworked like their tech tree and some of their units, but these minor factions haven't really gotten any of their good new units. They do not seem to make any use of the upgrades. So they're basically pre-rework orcs, which means they are very weak. And so we should be able to beat them pretty easily. So if I want to, I could actually try and take this hill as my defensive spot and make use of it. That's probably the best thing for success. So what we're going to do is we're going to get we're going to like have some like warriors positioned here, but then immediately at the start, we're going to rush these units out and basically have them form a line here. We're going to have one of my miners kind of be on this flank. We can actually have these wardens, these rangers. Now that I've remembered Warden from the DLC, now it's just stuck in my head. Then we'll have the Master Engineer will kind of keep back here. He'll be I want him in the middle of all of my range units because his passive buff that makes all of them stronger will get a lot more value from being... I don't have to decide on this flank because this is where I'm expecting the hardest blow to be. I want him to be able to shore it up. Let's see. Rage fall, rage fast. I think he probably said range, but you know, raging just makes sense. You know, barbarian life for the win. Alright, I'm gonna move you guys further out though, and in better formations. At least in my opinion, better formations. And you know, my opinion is all that matters, right? Right? Maybe. I think this is like the Thanes are over here. I'm gonna Thane here, Thane there. I'm gonna reposition these guys now that I have a better idea what my final line is gonna look like. I want my runesmith about here. This guy's my missile specialist, so I have him about here. I want all my ranged units to be on defensive mode, guard mode. And then I want my frontline troops also to be in guard mode, because I don't want them, like, losing cohesion. Miners at the double. One thing I always turn off whenever it comes to my range shoots is I always turn off skirmish mode. The reason why is that the enemy gets close to them, they start backing away, and that's no fun. So you kind of see over here, our miners beating away at those Goblin Wolf Riders. I think, honestly, one thing I love about this game, like, I always love how Total War is zooming in. But, you know, whenever you're, like, trying to make sure you're doing some kind of strategy, you're not usually, like, you know, you don't always think about the cool things in life. You're like, okay, I don't want to die. You know what I mean? I want to actually do some counter on their archers just to get rid of them. Because, as I said, there's nothing I can really do to chase them, so I want to make sure I can focus them down as much as I can. And then we're going to try and flank with our units. Our hammers have secured that flank. They've run off completely off the map. I'm going to keep these guys here, just to make sure that my archers have some cover. There's a lot of units, so I need to be careful about how I make my army. I think what I could do is I could move this guy up, and kind of have this guy ready to flank when they charge him. That's what I'm going to end up doing, it looks like. Alright, we successfully chased them back, so we're going to keep I'm going to keep my Thanes up at front, but I'm going to keep my Runesmith back. I'm going to help this guy out now. I think that's actually a big threat right there, so I'm actually going to send this guy in here. That's kind of nice here is that I can actually fire into my enemies that are fighting my Thane without much fear about that's one of their generals, or at least a hero. So my Thane's my best response against him, because he's also kind of supposed to be a specialist fighter. And good thing I put my miner here, because in fact these guys actually came back and charged into my miners instead of charging into my archers. If I was actually against the player, they probably could have been able to get my archers. One reason why I actually really want to one day do more of a head-to-head campaign. I think that one's just going to be gone, probably. They actually have used the WOG ability here, which is actually going to make them threat. I'm going to give this guy better armor while I'm setting these guys around to flank. There's a large amount of enemies here. My engineer, I'm going to have you here. What do you do again? Here we go. My archers are starting to do some work here. My dwarf warriors are doing a good job of holding the line. My miners actually went into the enemy, so they're kind of stuck in there. But they're still flanking, so it's not the end of the world. But it's not a nice, beautiful enemy blob here. I'm gonna send my Thane into their flank. This other Thane's doing a really good job just harassing the enemy here. I'm gonna try and get a good angle here on this big blob of enemies here. The reason why I have to be kind of careful is because you can damage your own troops with your range damage, so you have to be kind of careful. Also, I mentioned guard mode before. For those of you who don't know, guard mode basically will make it so when I'm gonna bring him back here. He's just gonna take a bunch of damage for no reason. Guard mode makes it so when their opponent starts to rout, they will not charge after them. For example, for ranged units, they will stay and just fire whatever's within their range. Even if I right-click and manually have them select a target, they will not chase it outside of their initial engagement range. So sometimes what happens is if you don't do it on your archers, is you'll have them fire on a target, they will rout, and then what ends up happening is that they will run straight into the melee where your front lines are, and you're like, well, that's not what I wanted. So thankfully, orcs also do not have really all that good morale, and one of the advantages of the ancestors, these ghostly heroes that I got, is that they cause terror, which already takes their very small amount of morale and makes it even smaller. Because they attacked me, I actually want to try doing as much damage as I can, so I'm going to try to keep my guys firing as much as possible into their weakest units. Especially like if I could, oh, it looks like I'm out of ammunition for most of my ranged units actually. I didn't even notice that. But I can't catch up to them with any of my troops. As you can see here, my stat says 28. But the same place here for the orcs, they have 33. the goblins, and I think the orcs are also about the same speed. 31 speed for the orc boys. Which means that none of my units, unfortunately, will be able to catch up. Like this one, actually, this hero thing, will be able to eventually catch up. So if you see if I speed up here, you can do it, hero thing, you can do it. He'll slowly creep up, but he's only 1 speed faster than them. So I don't think he'll catch up before they're able to leave the map, unfortunately. So I won't be able to do a big, decisive blow to them before they are able to retreat. But if nothing else, I won the battle, they took massive losses, and now I could push on and try to take the city. Because it's a minor settlement, and they do not they do not seem to have built. It seems that they have not built walls. English, please. That means that I should be able to attack it, and it'll also be an open field battle. Which means that I don't have to worry about assaulting walls or anything like that. Honestly, one of the downsides, I feel about Warhammer is that there's no settlements. Except for major settlements, and even that, it's kind of there. Compared to previous games. Previous games, you have buildings you have to control. Even if you have a smaller garrison, they have to go through choke points to take locations, and you can at least strategize and try to maximize how much damage you do to your opponent. This one, you kind of be like, well, I'm kind of dead if you're fighting with a garrison, which is one reason why I've been trying to find ways to strengthen garrisons on my enemy side and my side, is because otherwise you kind of just demolish the garrisons, you know what I mean? You kind of see one of the army, there's only one army left. The garrison should be weakened now. I don't know how much, naturally. But they don't have walls, so I could just charge up here. But first things first, before I go in for max engagement, I'm going to get these skill upgrades. I want to see which one's a pretty good one. One of the biggest things I know is I really like to get the blues first, followed by the reds. Except on Thanes. Thanes are usually, well, Thanes are a bit different, actually. But for my generals, because this is a lot of the economic strength. For example, you can get, honestly, one of the most important things is probably going to get unflappable here. The reason why is dwarfs are really bad if you're ambushed. And the factions, for example, like the Skaven, if they ambush you, you're pretty much screwed. So you really want to make sure that you get this. You have to be very careful. For Inspirational Leader, that one's also going to be super nice to have. Basically increases the amount of casualties you replenish. Always a nice thing to have. Lightning Strike is really nice. It's going to be super nice in late game. I do not think the AI are affected by the mod I have. I don't quite remember. I know there was like a tab where I could set it so the AI wasn't affected by the mod, one of my mods, but I do not know how to open it. I'll figure it out, but for the next video, I did not think about it. For this video, but I'll try to keep it for the next one. There's like this little population on the top right. For me it's there, but for you guys it's up there. So sometimes it throws me off. Anyways, but basically like a lot of useful things are in here. And probably what I'm also very much going to get is Inspiring Presence. It also has a lot of buffs in the red tree to your overall all units in your army. So, like, for example, Tactician, super great. It's for Quarrelers and Thunderers. You know what I'm definitely 100% going to have in my army? Quarrelers and or Thunderers. So that's perfect for me. I'm definitely not going to get this one because I'm probably not going to have Gyrocoppers or Bombers or Bolters in my main army. Not at all. Probably going to have Grimnir's Heirs because my endgame army is probably going to have a lot of Ironbreakers. And Thunderer is also going to be pretty nice, but I'm definitely going to have like Organ Guns and or Grudge Throwers in my army. So like that'll be perfect. Like by the end game. Honestly, the hardest thing is for me is this first off, because I don't actually know what a good one is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go Mason. It'll make it a lot easier to build up settlements and stuff like that, because he's probably going to be my conquering army guy. So this one, I want training on this guy. That way he keeps making my units better and better and better just by existing in my army. Because he gives them experience, which levels them up, which makes them do more damage and all that lovely jazz. This one, I'm going to give him Specialist. The Runesmith, I'm going to specifically kind of like make him better and better in combat. I want the Hex of Wrath and Ruin, because that's going to be really nice against their cavalry and also for chasing down stragglers. Like when they rout, allow me to like slow them down just enough for me to attack them. I'm going to do Triangulation again to make it so my units do more damage. And then next thing what we're going to do is going to go for Ballistic Calibration and then back to Requisition. So Requisition is nice. Bonus ammunition. You saw how you saw there how almost all of my range units had ran out of ammo. Boom. More ammunition. They won't run out as easily. Then after that, I'll probably go for Ballistics and Structure. Bonus range is always nice to have. And then of course extra powder. Otherwise, we'll kind of see how it goes. So what we're going to do is we're going to just go in to attack. As you can see, they're pretty wounded from a previous battle. Some of them more healthy than others. Because I think they have a slight amount of replenishment because it was their turn to mine. But it's not a full thing. Also part of it's kind of the way the garrisons work, too. I wonder... Let's see. So what we're going to do is they're probably going to be defending somewhere over here. They might actually charge us because that's what the AI would do. So probably what I'm trying to do is I'm going to come from this position of strength here and then just push this way. Depending on where they are positioned and how they react will kind of determine how I react. So we'll just have our units in a line here. Miners flanking, miners flanking. We'll have this guy in the back with my ranged units. We'll probably have Quarreler. Ranger. The Hammerers I'm going to have over here because the miner on this side has a little less health than the rest. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually have him over here. The reason why is the Dwarf Warrior on this side has a little bit more health than the other Dwarf Warrior, so this side might need a little bit more assistance. Then we're going to have the Thanes and our generals kind of right behind our main troops. I always like... This is not necessarily because it's optimal. It's mostly because I'm the kind of person where I think the best place for your general is always in the exact center of your army. Because he's the general. He needs to be like, guys, around with me, we charge. You know, it's mostly just a roleplay thing. Not really any strategic reason. Or out in front, because you're leading by example. So what happened just there is I didn't really explain the last thing. I clicked drag, selected all my units, then I pressed G, which groups them all together into one group. Another thing that I did last time that I'm going to do now is I'm going to do group block. This allows me to move my troops and they'll stay in this exact formation while I maneuver them for the battle. Pretty nice to do. And then I right click and hold, and I can move I can basically move it a little bit from the point where I right clicked and have my troops over there. You can also move it slightly with the arrow keys if you wanted to, but I don't really plan on making a whole lot of use of that. But I do see that the enemy is actually trying to move against me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take this seemingly decent position. If you hold space, you can see all your units highlighted, as well as all your movements and the ranges of your ranged units. So yeah, I took this nice hill spot right here, which will be super nice to have for the battle. My troops will take a little bit of damage as the enemy is firing at them. But that's not the end of the world. We'll just have our own rangers start doing some damage here. Wolf Riders here. Looks like they're all on one flank, so I'm going to move this unit of miners here to my back to try and cover for that. But looks like they end up going against my hammers anyway, so I'm going to actually just move these guys around to the flank to make sure that I can deal with anything that comes my way. I'm going to change the slight position of these Quarrelers, and I'm going to start having them fire into the Orc boys here. I'm about to move this thing here to intercept these orc boys. They're going to cause some problems for my miners and that flank probably as a whole. One thing I should have done that I didn't do is I can actually make so these guys move a lot slower. If I time that on like a particular charge that they make in the battle, then I can stop them from getting a nice charge bonus on my guys. Looks like right there, the retreating enemy kind of pushed through. Oh, I forgot to do that for my archers. I'm gonna do that now. I'm gonna press guard mode, so that way they don't run away. So right here, I'm gonna have these guys deal with those ones. My hammers are chasing the ranged units and they're being focused. Hammers are actually probably the best target for the enemy archers. The reason why is the hammers have no shields. They have a lot of armor, but they will, out of most of my units except for the miners, they will take the most damage from any archery attacks. My miners seem to be doing a good job against those goblin wolf riders, so I don't need to worry about them. All units in the dwarf army are pretty strong in their own rights, even the basic ones, because of how much armor they have. They can take a lot of punishment. I'm gonna have these guys fire at them, bring these guys back here. I'm having these guys fire nicely into that big blob. Time for me to give armor. It looks like I am unfortunately going to lose one of my units of dwarf warriors probably after this battle. Send my general in to fight. I could have done a little bit more to, to do some micro and stuff like that for my armies, but I was mostly focusing on talking and having fun, Where's my rune master? Smoothsmith? Ah, they already routed. Why can't I say routed? They already routed as I did it, so I didn't need to worry about them having nice charge bonus against my troops. I do not need to chase this time and try to maximize damage. Just as I explained last time, they will all die after this battle, no matter what I do. My units did a pretty good job. This unit, I might lose, as I said, the one that took a big beating in the battle, because it's super low, but it might not, it might just replenish. We'll find out. If it ends up, needing to be replaced, then it gets replaced. We have more where they came from. Well, one thing we do need to be careful about, however, replenishment or no replenishment, is the fact that I do need to keep track of population. Because unlike the default game where there's no population concern, there's only a certain pool of people I can bring in to my army from my province, from the settlements I'm in, to replenish my troops. What's most likely to need to happen is I need to bring this army back to Karak-Izor, my capital, where there's the largest dwarf population, for them to properly replenish. I can Luna occupy, but I do not want to do that because that would make it so there's more provincial instability and less public order, and I'd rather not do that, especially because this is my home faction, my home province. So I'm going to demolish this for some money back. Money back guaranteed. And I'll rebuild it with something else because I already built one in Karak Bufdar, and having, two of the same buildings, I should say, in one settlement, doesn't really do anything good for you. It just means that you're being a little bit wasteful of building slots. Because all these buildings that are recruitment based, I can recruit across the province here, as you can see. I now have some miners with blasting charge. These guys are actually really nice to have. Mostly because of the fact that they throw charges and against like lightly armored troops. I think maybe against armored troops too. If can I click it? Pin. I think that's how I do it. Nope. Yeah, there we go. You can see right here, they do flaming attacks. They do bonus damage. It's a nice big AoE. That's really nice to throw it off. Especially if you if you're the ones being aggressive, if you throw that into, an enemy like defensive line and then charge, the lines will be disrupted, they will take damage, and they won't be as braced for a charge, which is really nice. Dwarf warriors with great axes are really nice. if you're going up against like lizardmen or factions with a lot of armor. Actually, lizardmen might not be perfect. I don't think they actually have a lot of armor. It's been a while. They like have a lot of scales, but I don't think the scales actually count as armor. I'd have to check. But anything with armor, like other dwarves, which you don't usually go to war with, but you can. Like these ones would, the dwarf warriors with great weapons should defeat dwarf warriors in a 1-to-1 battle, because the dwarf warriors with great weapons are armor piercing, while the dwarf warriors are not, and they have the same armor value. Though I think the calculations are a little bit more complicated than that, but I think that's the simplistic way of looking at it. So now here we have different commandments that we can issue. One of them basically makes it so it's cheaper to recruit, cheaper to build things, and I can recruit more. Probably not going to go for that one, right? At least right now. Even though I'm building a lot of stuff, recruiting a lot of stuff, it's just not enough value for me. This one is the power of the guilds, plus 15 growth and additional tradable resources produced, faction wide. That's really nice. More money for trade and all that jazz. I'm probably going to get this one because the growth. I want my buildings to grow faster and faster. That way I can keep building up my provinces, making more money, getting better units, so I can push out and take over the world. And especially Carragate Peaks. I could just do a flat tax rate increase. Hiking tributes actually is also really nice for me. As you can see, I'm not really making a whole lot of money. This army here has taken up almost all of my money. And then this one is Venerate the Ancestors, plus 1 to Untainted, and plus 2 Public Order. That one's also really nice if you're struggling with Public Order. But for me, I'm going to go for growth. My armies here, I can deal with any rebellions that are going on. And it should start coming down now that I own this entire province. So there's some unassigned skill points again that I'm going to start assigning. I'm going to go Mason here. There. Then I'm going to go Road to Striking. Any of these, none of these are actually particularly like, these are all buffs to himself, not really buffs to, I'm going to go melee defense. Reason why is I want to make sure my Runesmith can survive a hit. That way, and also I want to get Rune of Negation. Rune of Negation's beautiful. It's a flat 22% damage reduction. Really nice. This guy, so I can't increase his training at all, so I'm going to make him personally stronger. So I'm probably going to go for, this one would be really good in the early game, but kind of fall off in the late game. So probably going to do is I'm going to go Foe Seeker, and then I'm going to go straight up to Scarred Veteran for Blade Shield. I was thinking Scarred Veteran for more hit points, but he's kind of ethereal. I'll think about it. I'm going to go Foe Seeker. It's an activatable ability that increases vigor and speed. Speed will allow him to catch up to routing enemies and damage them more. Vigor, basically, enemy units start fresh and they get progressively more tired. Vigor, unless I've misunderstood this whole system since like the Vigor system was introduced, should make it so that they are that way that they're less tired, essentially, for the duration. So for this guy, I'm gonna get Ballistics Calibration just so he is an activatable. So that way I actually have a reason to click him. He's not really one of the most useful heroes for me. So now that I captured this faction, I want to see if I can potentially trade with the Border Princes. Now, yes, I can. I can give them a nice trade agreement. Can I get military access? Nope, they will give it to me. We'll worry about it later. So this trade will be pretty nice. I think it's going to increase the amount of money we're making by a little bit. Any bit of money is good for us. So we're going to take a few turns. We're going to take to relax. Not going to go too ham. And we're probably going to call it here for this episode. We've captured Zeragzil. We've gotten our settlements progressed. Starting with the next part, we'll most likely start progressing a lot faster. Reason why is I won't take as much time to explain things, because I'll assume you guys know what I'm talking about. And if there's any questions, just feel free to put in the comments. I'll be happy to explain it for you. The Total War series is such a fun series for me. I've been playing it, as I said, since elementary school. So I'm happy to share with you guys and hopefully find some enjoyment. Next time, In this campaign, we're going to go north. We're going to take out the Skaven. We're going to take out the Crooked Moon, who was responsible for taking care of 8 Peaks in the first place, if I remember correctly. If I remember my lore correctly. So taking them out will be pretty nice for fulfilling the grudges. And hopefully, and we'll see how the campaign progresses. So far, so good. But this is just the early game. We'll see how difficult the rest of it is. And hopefully you guys have a good day, night, wherever you may be. And I'll see you guys next time.